Well, welcome to National Smoke Alarm Services. This is a very brief presentation to bring you up to speed on what we've shown your property manager, or possibly we've shown you and you want to have a look at it again. The current situation is quite interesting with smoke alarms. 9-volt battery alarms in Victoria, 6 in 10 alarms are expired or faulty. So 6 out of 10, 60%. Mains powered alarms or hardwired alarms, 1 out of 5 of those are expired or faulty. So this was a survey done last year by Warmold. Now, what are you doing at present? Well, most property managers are out there checking alarms. Most agencies use their property manager to do this. And when they go out there, they do what we call the broomstick test. They grab a broomstick, they push it up towards the alarm and they push the button. Often, almost everyone thinks this is actually testing an alarm. It is not testing an alarm. It is testing whether the battery is connected. The part of the alarm that senses the fire is the membrane, and the membrane needs to be checked with smoke. So it's a special way of doing it, and you need some special equipment to do it normally. How do you document the process? Well, most property managers get their condition report out and they document it on the condition report, and they write on the condition report the smoke alarms are present and they are working, which isn't necessarily true. And what qualifications they have? Well, almost always the property managers don't have any qualifications with this. Building Regulations 1996. The owners are to install and maintain smoke alarms. The Residential Tenancies Act and insurance obligations to take reasonable care. So these are all the things that are basically listed in the legislation. So the agency is charged with the duty of protecting and maintaining the property to prevent the injury and damage to others. And they have to comply with all the legal statutory obligations. Now, the thing to understand is that all of the acts that are in place to protect this are only there until the house catches on fire. They're actually there as a guide. So the way to think about this is that if the house catches on fire, the act becomes null and void and common law takes over. So what does common law say? Well, common law talks about the managing agent is considered the servant, the agent or representative of the landlord. And the agent must be able to demonstrate that they inspected the premises adequately before allowing the tenant into possession, or they had the premises inspected by someone qualified. And common law says that the agency has a duty of care. Now, duty of care is a small part, or the core part, I should say, of a law called the law of negligence. So duty of care is an obligation to take reasonable care to avoid causing foreseeable harm to another person or their property. So in general terms, negligence can be established if the landlord can prove that the property manager owed them a duty of care, the property manager breached that duty of care, and if the breach can be shown to have caused the injury or damage to the property suffered by the landlord. So the agent's position is quite concerning at this point. You are considered the servant or agent of the landlord. Your staff have specifically reported the working condition of the alarms in your condition report, and therefore you have to be able to demonstrate that the premises were inspected properly, either by your staff or by a professional. And in most cases we find that there's no possible way that the agent can demonstrate that. So the big problem is that as far as the landlord is concerned, you've told him that everything is fine. And you've done that without really knowing that it is. Now, as we said before, there's no trouble whatsoever with this as long as the house never catches on fire. As soon as it does, though, there's going to be things called into question and you're going to have to be able to prove what's been done. Now, property managers have a bunch of other problems. The first one is they're very time poor, and we've got a saying in our business, as busy as a property manager, and it seems to be pretty much the state right across all agencies. They're very worried about occupational health and safety. Most of the women especially don't like climbing up ladders and reaching out to try and touch alarms, and even the guys that are involved in property management would rather not have to do that if they don't have to. And most of them are unaware of the actual requirements to make sure the duty is carried out properly. So what we do is we offer a certificate for each house that we visit. And this certificate lists all the tests we carried out while we were there. Most importantly, this certificate releases your agency from obligation. So if it comes to a court case, you will be able to prove beyond a shadow of doubt that you met and exceeded your duty of care. So you did everything in your power to make sure the tenant was safe. We also help the landlord discharge their legal obligations. We give back a chunk of time to the property managers and we make sure the tenant is safe. Now when we enter a house, we use fully qualified electricians and they're trained by the fire department and they're also trained in the building regulations and they're also trained by the smoke alarm companies to actually make sure they understand the alarms and what to look for. We then do a 3-way operational test. The first one we do is a smoke test where we actually encase the alarm in a gas mask type thing, and that canister is then filled with smoke, and we wait to check that the alarm activates with smoke. We then do a decibel reading to make sure the alarm is over 80 decibels, which is the Australian standard, and we then do a circuitry test, which is we check that the alarm talks to all the different parts of the alarm. So if the membrane detects there's smoke, does it actually tell the beeper to go off? If there is a battery in the alarm, we replace that battery. And we also then check that the alarm is in the correct spot. If it's not in the correct spot, we will move it. Australian standard compliance, we have to make sure that the alarm is within its expiry date. Most people don't realise that alarms have an expiry date, and once they are expired, often they don't work in smoke. So they need to be replaced. We then issue the certification. Now, the investment, the good news is there's no cost to the agent. The landlord pays a small annual fee of $75 plus GST, and that's for the maintenance, service and certification of the alarms. Sometimes we come across an alarm that needs replacing, and when we're there in the house we like to do it straight away. The replacement alarms cost $90 plus GST. Now these alarms are actually worth over $150 and we buy them in bulk, so we get them at a much cheaper rate. They're the latest photoelectric technology and they're recommended by the leading fire authorities. They've got a 10-year guarantee on the battery, and the best news about this alarm is that it's a non-removable battery. It's much bigger than a normal battery and it doesn't fit anything in the house. So when the tenant flips the alarm open to try and take the battery out, they realise A, it's not going to fit, and B, it can't be removed anyway. And it's the alarm used by the Australian government. So the program rollout, it's very simplistic with minimal interruption. We provide you with a step-by-step set of instructions. We give you templated letters that you can adjust to yourself how you'd like the letter to sound. And then all you do is do a mail merge. If you want, we can pick them up and you can actually have them, we'll fold them for you and post them, or you can do it with your month end and just get it out that way. The notice of entry, if you need us to do the notice of entry, we can. We're happy to do all of the work or very little, depending on what you want. So some agencies like to control this very closely. Other agencies are very willing to let us do the whole thing because they're busy. It's invoiced as normal maintenance charge. So in summary, we provide the landlords with an increased service. We reduce agents' liability. There's no cost to the agent. Minimal time required, only a mail merge. And we can even fold and post letters for you. So basically this leaves you with 3 options. Option 1, you can do nothing. You'll keep all the work and you keep all the duty of care, which means if there is a fire in one of your houses, you have a likelihood of litigation. Number 2, you can send out the letters and the landlords will say no. If they say no, the landlord has to send you back our letter and it releases you from the obligation and the work. And number 3, you send out the letters, the landlord says yes, and the tenant, the landlord and yourself are protected as best as you possibly can be. So that's pretty much us, and that's our presentation. Thank you very much for your time, and we'll talk to you soon.